Hey guys, it's Kevin this for Age of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 19, The Dirty Half Dozen. And as usual, this was a great episode. And I have to say, I think the thing that everyone seemed to love of this episode, which I'm hearing, is that we got the old team back, honestly. The whole team reunited in this episode, and because it's been such like a split, focus on, everyone doing their own individual thing, to have everyone come back again was awesome, and just... let me say a few things before this episode starts, because of course Joss Whedon said that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't connect to Avengers Age of Ultron. What he didn't say is that this episode's actually a prequel, which you can tell this episode's a prequel. I'll talk about why, but there are things going on there. Also, guys, I'm sure you guys are wondering where the hell is your movie preview? Like, where is your May movie preview? My friend, if you guys know, I am not in charge of that, honestly. I am not in charge of that anymore. Because ever since then, my very good YouTube friend, Caleb Play, aka Kid of Awesome, he has taken over in doing that. He made the video yesterday. He said he's going to upload today, so I'm assuming it's going to be up sometime today. I have no control over it, honestly, guys. I have no control, so if you guys are wondering where my movie preview is, I have no control over it. I'm being completely honest. I have no control. He's in full, control. He can do whatever I told him as long as he does it, and... I haven't even seen the video. I don't see the video till he shoots it. So, I'm not in charge of that. So, if you guys are wondering, that's why. But let's get into this episode because it was amazing and definitely love this episode. And it's really setting up a really awesome final 3 episodes. Because the season finale is split into 2 episodes. So, basically, Raina wakes up from a nightmare of a wounded Gordon, Lincoln, Daisy, and Coulson, and finds Jiang at her bedside. And she realizes that Raina was dreaming and asks her to describe it. And Gordon teleports out into the street with Cal, who, now I thought this was really interesting that Raina can, see these visions. Now, I was kind of thinking, is Raina ended up somehow going to be distinctly related to Vision, but really it's just that she has these powers and she's just having these visions and everything. I thought that somehow she'd be related to Vision. I still kind of feel like that's a possibility. What do you guys think? Do you think that somehow Raina's like a distinct, ancestor or something of Vision? I just feel like they're somehow related. I don't know, though. So... Giant comes out and explains that Afterlife isn't his home. Afterlife is not Cal's home, and Gordon goes back for Lincoln, and Cal says that Jiang trying to take him from his daughter is unacceptable. And a man comes out, and Jiang advises her former husband to calm down so that they can speak later. And Gordon returns. He's bleeding from a heat wound and says that he barely got away from Hydra. And they have Lincoln in the nearby doorway, and Raina sees Gordon's injury and actually realizes that it's the same one from her dream. Little bit freaky because this was a dream that she had, and the weirdest part of this is that not only is this a dream she had, but her dreams can sort of predict what's going to happen, which I thought was overall just really interesting, definitely. I thought that, when we saw that, I'm like, this is going to be really interesting with Raina's character, just making us enjoy Raina's character more. I'm already loving Raina's character, but just adding this just add a whole new layer to her character, and I love that they did that. I thought that was awesome. So, Robert visits Coulson in the bus containment cell. Coulson explains he turned himself in because Strucker and List have a base in the Arctic, and he has a man on the inside. He appeals to Robert to work with him, admitting that he's been working with Deathlock, which honestly, now that Coulson's back, as we know, Coulson did return, now he does not know, of course, that Melinda is working with Robert, but I like that Coulson tries to strike up an alliance with Robert, because honestly, they both want to do the same thing. They both want to take down Hydra, so why not work together? That's really their big thing here. So he appeals to Robert to work with him, admitting that he's been working with Deathlock, and Robert points out that Deathlock was a Hydra creation, but Coulson insists that they have a chance to hit their enemies, and when Robert wonders why he should trust him, I like what Coulson says to him. He knows about the secret that Robert has in the cargo of the aircraft carrier. It's in the toolbox, and Coulson offers to open it for Robert if Robert will trust him. As we know, that toolbox is actually a decoy, and of course, Fitz has the real one, so... I thought that was really interesting, and honestly, that right there should have made Robert think, okay, I can work with him, because that shows that Coulson does know what he's doing, and that Robert should trust him. So at Afterlife, Daisy asks Lincoln why Lincoln was following her, and Jiang admits that she sent him to watch over Daisy, and Daisy admits, asks how they got Lincoln back, and her mother says that they don't, and I like that she asks a question, because it's true, why did they want Lincoln to follow her? They want to strike up a relationship, because honestly, I do see chemistry between Daisy and Lincoln, but, her mother says that they don't because it's too much a risk, and despite the fact she knows what Hydra will do to him, she figures that Hydra is tracking Gordon's movement, and knows that Lincoln wouldn't want anyone to risk their lives trying to rescue him. So Daisy really wants to, help Lincoln. She's really worried something bad's gonna happen to him. And at a base in the Arctic, Lincoln wakes up in a cell next to Deathlock, and Deathlock warns that Hydra disabled his weapon arm, and Lincoln figures that his people won't send Gordon for them. So Liz checks in with Strucker and tells Sunnel that he wants to see the subjects with his own eyes, and Sunnel suggests that they compare their two prisoners' genetic structures and is eager to help. And Liz says that they shall proceed with the experimentation and triggers an EMP blast in the two cells. And Coulson outlines his plan, and Robert wonders why they shouldn't send a full-on assault. And his prisoner says that he doesn't want to put the prisoners at risk, and informs Robert that he has his own people picked out. And I thought that was really good when he saw that. You see that, as I said, he does know what he's doing, and I definitely like seeing that. So on the Quinjet, Fitz checks in with Lance. Lance says that his bullet wound is okay, but isn't thrilled that Grant and Carol like each other, and I thought that was kind of funny that we saw that. I mean, I definitely like the interaction between Fitz and Lance. I thought that was really good. And in the cockpit, Grant offers to teach Kara how to fly. She wonders, and I still love these two together. I have to say, I love these two together. It's understandable why Lance doesn't really think he should be with Kara, because obviously Kara was Agent 33 for a while, and she almost, could have killed Melinda and things like that. I totally understand why Grant doesn't really trust, why Lance doesn't really trust Grant right now. So she wonders why Grant is still helping Coulson, and Grant says that he still has one more thing that he needs from his former superior, and Lance gets a call and tells Grant that they have a green light, and Grant docks the Quinjet with the bus, and the bus arrives at the playground, and Melinda greets them, and Robert warns Grant and Kara that they'll be accompanied by guards with orders to shoot if they do anything, and the two of them leave, and once they're alone, Melinda complains to Coulson that he brought Grant back in hopes that his plan will work, and the team gathers in a conference room, and basically they watch the video stream from Deathlock's eye as the Hydra surgeons work on him, and the surgeon removes the eye, and Grant says that he has Sunnel working on the inside, and Coulson says they'll take in a small team to avoid detection, rescue the prisoners, and disable the missile defense system so that S.H.I.E.L.D. jets can bomb the facility, which honestly seems like a really well-executed plan. So Robert calls for a vote, and he and Bobby agree, and I like that Bobby does get a say in this, because, I mean, it's not just Robert. As Robert said, he's not the leader of this. Bobby and Mac are fully in charge of this other S.H.I.E.L.D. But now that there is no other S.H.I.E.L.D., they now can come back together as just Coulson's team, which is awesome. So Weaver and Oliver disagree, leaving Melinda with the deciding vote, and she asks for a word in private with Coulson first. And when she said that, I'm like, she's going to tell him. She's going to tell him the truth. And basically, in the lab, Fitz asks Gemma if everything's okay. She admits that she feels sorry for Kara and figures that whatever she has with Grant isn't love. And I'd have to disagree. I think they really do have love. I mean, honestly, Gemma isn't one to talk about love right now because her and Fitz aren't in love. They were in love, but they're not in love right now. And Fitz thanks his friend for the sandwich and admits that they had to pull him off of Grant on the plane. And Gemma gets out the splinter bomb and suggests that Fitz put it on Grant and then detonate it. And Fitz realizes that she's serious, and Gemma insists that they should arm themselves against Grant because they just don't really know if they can trust Grant. I mean, think of what happened in episode 6. They thought they could trust Grant, and they couldn't trust him. So it could totally end up that way again, and they really don't know what's going to happen. Of course, I like that this time Daisy's not involved, because if Daisy was involved, we know that she'd say no immediately. She wants nothing to do with Grant. She's wanted Grant out of her life all season long, and if Daisy were to, be the one to, make the decision of if Grant should stay or not, she'd immediately say kick him out. Like, she'd immediately say that, so Melinda tells Coulson, and I'm happy that she did tell him this because she had to. She told him that she did accept the director's position that kept him safe and accused him of lying to her, and she asked what Theta Protocol is, and Coulson refuses because she isn't director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and of course we know what Theta Protocol is. Of course, as I said, Coulson is going to be training, people like the Avengers, like Nick Fury did, and Melinda points out that he isn't the director anymore, and Coulson reminds her that she spied on him for Fury, and he realizes that it's about Andrew, and says that he went to him for counseling, and Melinda says that Coulson should have told him, and Coulson promises to apologize to her later at length once they rescue Deathlock and the other prisoners, and you definitely see that there's a lot of tension going on with them. Of course, Coulson doesn't know the actual secret that she is, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., so Daisy begs Gordon to teleport her out so she can rescue Lincoln. He refuses, but Raina comes over and says she had a vision of Daisy rescuing Lincoln and Coulson working with Grant, and Daisy realizes that Raina had a true vision, and this wasn't just something that Raina saw. This was a real, legit vision, and Raina says that the doctors are cutting into Lincoln, and Daisy's the only one who can rescue him, and it just shows how powerful Daisy's powers are. I mean, there's a great scene here where we see that Daisy has these, like, healing powers, and it's just really cool. I'll get to that. But Gordon warns that Hydra can detect him, and Raina says that he'll take Daisy to somewhere a long way from Hydra. So Grant tells Kara that he'll go with Coulson's team while she stays there and reconnects with her past. She doesn't want to be left alone. And Grant assures her that it's her chance to get the part of her that was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent back. And I can kind of understand what they're saying, where the whole thing with them is not love yet. It is kind of him helping her. But it really does seem like he cares about her. Even if it's not love, at least Grant cares about someone, isn't just doing something for himself. No, Kara wants to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. She wants to be in that position again. She wants them to be able to trust her, and she's a lot like Grant, and I think that's why they go so well together. Honestly, that is why they go really well together. So I really do hope that Grant can get her that promise, because I mean, think about it. Grant was able to convince her that she should see her true self, and that to me just proves that he cares about her. I don't think that he just do that to, you know, mess with her and get what he wants. I think he truly does care about her, and I know that, you know, Gemma and Fitz and Coulson and Melinda, none of them believe it, but that's because they haven't seen this side of Grant before. They're used to seeing the traitor Grant, the Grant that's, you know, the Grant like we saw in the first half of the season. But Grant has matured so much that I really feel like this is genuine, not love, but at least he cares for her. I definitely feel like that's what's going on there. So Bobby wonders why Robert voted to let Coulson go, and he says that only Coulson's people are at risk when she objects to sacrificing S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Robert says that sometimes they make sacrifice for the greater good, which is true. They do have to do that. I mean, and it kind of is foreshadowing something. Definitely, I think this is foreshadowing something. This whole episode, a lot of it definitely is foreshadowing Age of Ultron. That, I think, is foreshadowing the death. I don't know who dies. I'm going to say that right now. I don't know who... Well, I think I know who dies. I'm pretty sure. If it's not who I think, then great. And, but I definitely feel like that's foreshadowing that someone is going to die. Not just in S.H.I.E.L.D., but in Age of Ultron, we know someone's going to die. And I'm interested in seeing if that has something to do with what Robert said. If that's actually foreshadowing that the Avengers will have to make some sort of sacrifice. Because I definitely feel like to take down Ultron, they'll have to make some sort of sacrifice. And if that's true, then that could be really interesting. And I like that they're connecting S.H.I.E.L.D. to Ultron, because they do need to do that. So in the lab, Gemma puts a splinter bomb in the case and then asks Coulson for permission to go on the mission. She points out that Deathlock will need a doctor and assures Coulson that's something that she has to do, and impressed, he agrees. So Coulson, Fitz, Melinda, Grant, and Gemma board the bus, and they hear a crackle of electricity and draw guns on Grant, but Grant says that it wasn't him, and Daisy walks out, and Daisy's back, and I was like, wow, Daisy's actually back, and I'm like, there's no way she's staying, though, because, of course, she wants to help Lincoln, and Grant's happy to see the team back together, and it honestly is an awesome moment, because the original 6 are back together. Yeah, Lance and Bobby and Mac, they've kind of become a part of the team, but Lance, Bobby, and Mac, they kind of become a part of the team, but you do have the original 6 back. You know, Grant's back, Daisy's back after a while, and now Coulson's back. You have the whole original 6 back together, which is awesome. I love that they finally got the original 6 back together. And if they keep doing that throughout the season, that's going to be awesome. So Coulson, Fitz, Melinda, Grant, and Gemma... I just read this. So once the bus takes off, Daisy tells Gemma and Fitz that she'll have to update them later on what happened, everything. Of course, they don't know about her healing powers and all that stuff, and Gemma complains that she's been secretive, but Daisy says that she doesn't want to say anything for fear that Grant will overhear her. So, of course, Grant doesn't know about her Inhuman stuff. Of course, Gemma knows and Fitz knows, but Grant doesn't know. And the others come in, and Grant explains that Sunnel is using old Hydra text channels to send intel, and everyone glares at him, and Grant tries to excuse what he did, and he regrets destroying the team and insists that there were good times before, but nobody's impressed. So Coulson says that they have to focus on the mission and explains that Daisy, Grant, and Gemma will be on Rescue Medical, while he, Fitz, and Melinda go into... Now, this is one of the reasons why I love seeing the original 6 back together, because now their plans are going to be a lot more successful, because before, who'd they have? I mean, we had Coulson, Grant, and... Fitz split up, and then you had, Gemma and Melinda and all of them working together, Bobby, Mac, and all of them, and then you had Daisy with the Inhumans. So now that they're back together, their plans can be a lot stronger, they can actually be successful, which is awesome, because of course they haven't been successful yet this season. I mean, yeah, they did kind of take down Hydra in the finale, but they still lost Trip, so, so basically, everyone glares at, so basically we see he finishes by telling Grant not to talk to anyone, and I think that's good advice overall. I mean, no one really wants to talk to Grant because they don't really know if they can trust him, and I like that Coulson is telling him that, because really that is the right thing to do, is to keep, keep things to himself, and don't cause trouble, because if he causes trouble, he could ruin the team, and he could turn everyone against him, and that's just going to turn out terribly. I mean, they're so strong right now. And now that Daisy's back, that's what the question is. No one really cares about Grant. They care about Daisy being back. They don't really care that Grant's back. So, Jiang releases Cal from his cell and takes him into, and I was happy that she did this because, I mean, yeah, it was kind of rude what Jiang did. I mean, Cal did want to connect with Daisy. I understand that she doesn't really want Cal to connect with Daisy because she knows that Daisy feels awkward, but Cal should be able to connect with his daughter. I definitely feel like he should, and especially if Jiang can, it is kind of like, well, you can and he can't. Like, Cal didn't do anything wrong. He's just trying to bond with Daisy. Daisy just feels really awkward because she hasn't seen him for a while, and I understand that, but eventually they do have to connect. So I like what Jiang does here. She takes him into the city. He apologized for losing his temper, and Jiang admits that it was wrong to send him away, and she warns that everything is dangerous right now, and asks Cal to stay for now until they can figure things out after everything calms down. So Jiang asks about Raina, and Cal warns Jiang that she has to watch her, because of course, Raina's having these visions and things like that, which still makes me think that Raina's somehow related to Vision. I just feel like that's what's going on there. I'm not really sure, though. I mean, she's not purple like Vision is, but I just feel like that's a possibility. So Lance approaches Mac and offers to help him set up a video feed for the mission, and Mac accepts and apologizes for hurting him, and Lance says he forgives him. He forgives him, which I thought was pretty surprising, of course, because as we know, Mac never told him that him and Bobby were working together. So I like that Lance forgave them, because I didn't really know if Lance was going to, so I like that Lance just easily forgave them. Surprised Mac promises to buy him a round of drinks when things settle down, and I thought it was really funny that they were talking about, oh really, you want a round of drinks over everything? And then asked if Lance has talked to Bobby yet, and Lance admits that he hasn't. I love their friendship. I've talked to how much I love Mac and Lance's relationship. Friendship. I think they have a really good friendship overall. I definitely like their friend. Oh my god, guys, I said relationship. I meant friendship. You know what I meant. Their friendship, I think that they have a really nice friendship, a really strong friendship, and I definitely like seeing this more than them fighting over Bobby, because before it just seemed like they were fighting over Bobby. I'm happy that the twist was never that Mac was in love with Bobby all along, because that just would have been really stupid, and I like that they can make amends and now they're friends again, because I thought that was really good. So, a doctor is taking blood samples from Kara when Bobby comes in, and Kara figures that they're keeping her under watch, which is understandable, because obviously she tried to kill Melinda all those other times, so she's not really on their good side right now. So Bobby asks how much she remembers from before, and she says that they met before, and asks Kara to come to her if she needs help, and Kara thanks Bobby for being the first person to talk to her like a human being, and I thought that was really good that Bobby wasn't rude to her. She's not like, I want nothing to do with you, I don't trust you. She actually is talking to her like a human being. The only other person that's really done that is Grant, but besides Grant, the rest of the team has treated her like, like a hostage animal, and they've been, she was hostile to them, but now that she's herself, she's not like that anymore, and promises that they'll all see the Grant, and I love what Bobby says here. I thought this was a great line. She says they'll all see the Grant that she does, and I love that. I thought that was great, because Bobby knows that Kara and Grant love each other. She knows that they have this relationship, and she knows they have this connection. Just no one really knows they can trust Grant right now because they haven't seen him in a while. And I like that Bobby is telling her that, look, I trust you, and if you need anyone, I can ally with you, and I think that's awesome. I think Bobby, honestly, the perfect ally for Kara. Really, she is. And Sunil tells Liz that Deathlock and Lincoln won't survive the next round of experimentation. A man comes in and tells Liz that a cloaked plane is on approach, and if they figure that it's S.H.I.E.L.D, and Liz orders his people to shoot them down. And aboard the bus, Melinda confirms that they've been spotted and tells the others that it's time. She warns that Hydra is locked on, and 2 missiles slam into the bus and destroy it. That was such a crazy scene when we saw that. So at the playground, Robert receives word from Weaver that the bus was destroyed as Bobby and Mac watch. Robert says that it was always the plan, which I thought was interesting. And the Quinjet separates from the exploding bus and basically bending in with the debris. And Melinda takes them down. They break to a stop just in time and then land. So luckily everything was okay. I thought something bad was going to happen there, but luckily everything's okay. At a playground, Robert says that was the easy part, and I thought that was a good line. So the team breaks into the base through a service hatch and meets S.H.I.E.L.D, who takes out the guard that was following him, and Grant re-emphasizes S.H.I.E.L.D's brainwashing and gets direct, because of course, S.H.I.E.L.D was brainwashed. He never was really working with Hydra, he was brainwashed by them, and they get directions to both the list and the mainframe room, and S.H.I.E.L.D asks to join Grant's team, and when he said them, like, yeah, if they were skeptical about Grant, there's no way they're gonna take you. Like, why would they take someone who is working with Hydra, who was brainwashed by them? There's no way he's gonna work with them. And Coulson warns them that Robert's jets will arrive in 15 minutes. As the teams go their separate ways, Fitz tells them to be careful. What I did kind of think that scene is showing, though, is that they might have to get people from Hydra and kind of like recruit them over to Coulson's team and kind of do what they did with Raina. Because, you know, Raina was in Hydra, but they took her out of Hydra, and of course now she's with the Inhumans, but still, she's on their side. The Inhumans are not bad people. They're on their side, and definitely, it looks like next week they're going to be allying with the Inhumans, which is going to be awesome, and I can't wait for that. And S.H.I.E.L.D lets Grant and the others into the lab. The guards open fire, Liz takes cover, and Daisy uses her powers to take the Hydra guards out. Such an awesome scene. It kind of made me think of Scarlet Witch. I don't know why. I keep thinking of Avengers Age of Ultron. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of how they're making connections to it, because Joss Whedon lies all the time, and yeah, so they find Deathlock, and he says that they moved Lincoln just before they arrived. So Coulson's team goes to the mainframe room, and Fitz accesses the missile defense system, and Gemma works on Deathlock and tells Grant to find a gurney. And when Deathlock wonders why she went on a mission with Grant, Gemma says that she saw an opportunity to do the right thing, and she took it. And I thought that was good that Gemma decided that she should do it, because, I mean, especially when everyone's so untrusting of Grant, the right thing to do is to go on this mission with Grant. It was the right thing to do. I mean, if she would have said no, that would have been terrible. Everyone would be like, why wouldn't, well, obviously people wouldn't have, like, questioned her about it, but it probably was the best thing for her to go on this mission with Grant, because Grant just wants someone to believe him. Seriously, Grant can't catch a break in this episode, and I really did feel bad for him. So Daisy fights her way to the operating room. This is such a badass scene. I love seeing this, honestly. Daisy's powers get more and more interesting, and we see that she has even more powers than we thought she had in this episode, because she finds Lincoln just as he flatlines. She uses her healing powers to jumpstart his heart, and realizes that Raina was right, because again, Raina saw a vision of Lincoln in the hospital, and Daisy saved him. So definitely, Raina can predict the future, and I think that's really interesting, but just seeing that and Daisy just saving Lincoln, I thought was such an awesome scene, honestly. I've talked about this before, but one of the things that's saving the show is Daisy's powers. Honestly, they're just so interesting, and I wouldn't love the show as much if it wouldn't be for that storyline. I think it's just awesome. So Grant looks for a gurney, and Gemma comes in behind him, and it activates the splinter bomb. And as she prepares to throw it on him, S.H.I.E.L.D yells a warning and attacks her. Gemma attaches it to him, and S.H.I.E.L.D dissolves, and Grant draws his gun and asks what she was thinking. Gemma says she made a promise to kill him, and they killed him. I thought that he was going to work with them, but no, they killed him, and she dares Grant to kill him. But Grant says he disappointed her and walks away, and especially when it seemed like she was doing the right thing. Yeah, that's not exactly the right thing to do. The right thing is not to take out S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, that wasn't the right thing to do. Because there could have been a million other things that S.H.I.E.L.D. could have done with him. They could have gotten him on his team. They could have brainwashed him. They could have kept him in a containment cell. There could have been a million things they could have done with him, but they didn't do that. They could have even done what they did with Grant, where, like, they lock him up and told him that you can come out when you want to work with us. They could have done that as well. So Fitz works in the missile defense systems, and Melinda realizes that Coulson has slipped away, and Weaver tells Robert that the S.H.I.E.L.D. jets are 5 minutes away, and Melinda finds Coulson a computer and realizes that he set the whole thing up, and she shoots 2 guards down as they run in, and tells Coulson to come with her or he's next, and he readily agrees. So Gemma goes back to help Daisy move Lincoln and says that grandson won't be coming with them, and Melinda calls Robert and tells him, so it seems like Grant's not going to work with them. I'm not sure, though. Do you guys think that Grant's going to stay with them? I'm not really sure. So Melinda calls Robert and tells him that they have the prisoners, and Robert orders the jets to fire on the base. The Quinjet returns to the base, and the medics get Lincoln to the sick bay, and Grant calls Coulson and says it would be safer for him to find a separate exit. He admits that some people don't deserve forgiveness, but says that Kara does, and I like that he did do this, because Kara does deserve forgiveness. I mean, she just wanted someone to see her as her true self, and so he returned her to S.H.I.E.L.D, and if Grant really sacrifices his allegiance to S.H.I.E.L.D. for her, I mean, that's love. Honestly, if that doesn't scream that he loves her, I don't know what else does. So, fuck you, Gemma, you were wrong. Seriously. Grant admits that he can't fix the one because there's not enough good left in him, and that was an amazing line, because it's true. While Grant is on this great streak, he can't do everything. He's not the nicest person ever, and he can't do everything, and basically he can't fix her. So Coulson says that he'll do what he can, and I definitely feel like Coulson's going to help her feel more accepted and feel more appreciated. And that's going to be awesome if he really does do that. And if he really does keep this promise to Grant. It seems like Coulson definitely does trust Grant at this point. Definitely. And that's something Coulson's always done. He's sort of always been on Grant's side. I mean, obviously, when Grant was working with Hydra, he wasn't. But he has always understood Grant's points, which I like seeing. So Fitz tells Deathlock that they dismantled his leg and they're transferring him to a facility where they can make repairs, and the scientists explain that Sun-El and Grant got them in, and Gemma merely says that Sun-El didn't make it, which, of course, we know that he didn't. So Skye sits at Lincoln's bedside and begs him to wake up, and Robert's watching outside. Bobby informs they destroyed the base, but List escaped. He figures that it's okay now and that they have Daisy in custody, and now they have enhanced people in their custody, and Bobby wants to discuss it just as Coulson comes over. Robert gives him the toolbox, and Coulson unlocks it, gives it back. However, he tells Robert that Fury's alive and will be back for it, which I thought was awesome because, of course, a lot of people have been wondering, do they actually know that Nick Fury's alive? And yeah, they do know that he's alive, which I thought was awesome. So I guess, I mean, again, I feel like something happens in Avengers Age of Ultron where Fury reveals to the world that he's still alive. I mean, as we know, he's hiding out right now. So I kind of feel like something's going to happen in Age of Ultron where Fury's going to be forced to reveal his location or something. I really don't know. I mean, definitely, we know probably this is going on during Age of Ultron. This scene right here, I feel like is going on during a scene in Age of Ultron. I'm not really sure what scene, though. So Hill calls and asks for a private conference with Coulson. He talks with her and says that they have bigger problems, and they found what he was looking for. And Jiaying comes to see Raina and wants to discuss how she convinced Daisy to rescue Lincoln. Raina says that she didn't convince Daisy to do anything, because she didn't. Daisy wanted to do it anyway. And Jiaying says that she'll make all decisions based on Raina's precognition, and unimpressed, Raina says that the time may have come for someone else to take over. And she suddenly has a vision. This was probably, I mean, this I thought was awesome. She has a vision of Loki's scepter. Yes, Loki's scepter. Loki's scepter, seriously. She had a vision of Loki's scepter, and that was awesome when she had that. I was like, okay, definitely I don't know if that's going to happen in Avengers Age of Ultron, but that's awesome. So Coulson brings up the file he took of Loki's scepter, and he figures that Hydra knows it has mind control powers, and he has learned that it's in Sokovia, and List is heading there to meet Strucker. So basically, I think what they did is that they used Loki's scepter to brainwash people into thinking that Hydra is going to help them and that S.H.I.E.L.D's the enemy. That's what happened with Sun-El, and that's what they're going to do to Strucker. So Raina tells Jiaying about the scepter and warns that it's dangerous and unfinished. And Coulson sends Hill everything he has on Strucker's location. He explains he didn't tell Robert because he would have lost the swing vote. Before she signs off, Hill asks if Theta Protocol is ready. Coulson says that it is, and it's time to bring in the Avengers. And when he said that, I was like, oh my god, that's fucking awesome. Seriously, that was an awesome line. I love that he said that, and basically, that's just setting up Avengers Age of Ultron right there. That's showing that, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D's still working with the Avengers, and they probably know that Coulson's alive now, because obviously he wouldn't say that if the Avengers, if he knew they weren't, alive. So Raina warns, and the ending of the episode, the cliffhanger here, might be the best cliffhanger we have seen from the show so far, because Raina warns Jiaying the consequences are upon them, and men made of metal will tear their cities apart, and that right there is showing that this is a prequel to Avengers Age of Ultron, and oh my god, that was such an awesome way to end the episode. Now, obviously, they had to have some sort of Ultron reference in this episode, because it is Avengers Week. Obviously, that's what everyone's looking forward to, so I love that they did that. Honestly, some people could say, oh, that was fan service, but let's face it, almost everything in Marvel's fan service. Who really gives a shit anymore? There's nothing wrong with fan service. I think it was awesome that they did that, and this was by far the best episode of the season, I have to say. This was an amazing episode, and there's a lot to talk about. Is Coulson, what's going to happen now to bring in the Avengers? Are we going to see some Avengers before the finale? I could definitely see it happening. I could see them bring in some Avengers and getting them in the finale. If they do that, that's going to be fucking awesome if they do that. I don't know if they're going to do that, but if they did that, that could be completely awesome, and I would love if they brought some Avengers on. Honestly, that would be completely awesome if they did that. let's talk about Coulson. Is he going to actually help Kara? Does he trust Grant? Is he going to keep this promise to Grant that he will help her? I mean, I really hope he does, because all Kara wants is someone to, understand who she is and to respect her, and he should respect Kara, and I definitely feel like that should happen. Grant. Do you think that Grant is going to work with S.H.I.E.L.D.? I mean, he has to work with S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll see what happens there overall. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen with Hydra. As we know now, they're brainwashing people. Of course, they're brainwashing people now, into thinking that they're better and everything, which I think is really interesting overall. What's going to happen with Loki's scepter? I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And there's a lot more to talk. Also, is Melinda going to tell Coulson that she is, the head leader of the other S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't know if she's really going to do that, but we'll see what happens. Overall, guys, was the best episode of the season by far. Absolutely loved it, and I just realized it's my longest review for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so that's cool, I guess. But that's it, my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And again, guys, I'm sorry about the main movie preview. It'll be up at some point today. I don't know when. Yeah, that was my friend actually, who's on FaceTime right now. He said he's gonna get up at some point today. We'll see when. But as I said, I have no control over that, so I can't. But this episode, honestly, it did what it should do. It made me hype for Age of Ultron. Honestly, I cannot wait to see Avengers: Age of Ultron. They showed an awesome clip for it at the end of the episode of just like Black Widow and Iron Man and Hulk and all them just going at it with Ultron and just, like, throwing shields into it. It was so awesome. Captain America, like, threw his shield into a bus. It was so awesome. It got me so hyped, and I can't wait for Age of Ultron. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, best episode of the season. I'll see you guys in my next video, which may or may not be for Finding Carter. I don't know. What I might do, honestly, is just watch it and review the rest of the season when it's over, honestly. I feel like I'm just going to do that. Honestly, I'm probably going to do that. I will watch Finding Carter, but I won't review it individually anymore. I think that's really what I'm going to do. I'm not reviewing Finding Carter individually anymore. So, yeah. But that's it for this review. Hope you guys enjoy it. And my next review will probably be for the review tonight's episode of Arrow. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.